Welcome everyone. I'll be walking through the workshop on Bedrock Agent Core with Strands Agents and our Pro. So you're going to get hands-on on Bedrock Agent Core. It's a service from Amazon that helps you to deploy and operate effective agents very securely using at scale and using different frameworks, whether it's QA, LangGraph, Llama Index, Trans Agents, name them. That's the beauty about it. This is part of the workshop that we've been given access to as part of the BeSa, Become a Solutions Architect for workshop. So as you can see by my side, I've also have the notebook, the notion that would be able to help me understand what is going on in terms of the workshop. So the first thing that it is, because you're using an AWS event, is once you get to work to access the Bedrock, this section tells you that you get to model access. But the issue would be like if you go here, is that page was deprecated. That means that now serverless foundation models are now automatically enabled. It used to be this page, but this now it will tell you that the model access page has been retired. I'll show you that shortly. If I go to Bedrock here, and I'll navigate down to model access. So previously you used to request for model access, then AWS would provision, give you access to particular models, but this now recently with the change, and you go down to model access here, you can see it is retired as the notion tells you. So no need to worry, no need to do that part of the workshop for now. And uh, because Nova Pro will be given, and the other thing about the lab, the workshop is using Nova Pro and not cloud because of cloud has some country restrictions. The other aspect was to open the CloudWatch and expand APM signals and add enable transaction search because you need it in lab 5. So if I go back here and I go to CloudWatch, just type CloudWatch here and I get to it. I already done it. So if I go to applications, it goes to expand it from here. Then you go to transaction search. And then if you come in here, you can see it's, for me, it's already enabled. That is why you can see this, but you should be able to see the the page where you'll click on enable, then you'll tick, then you'll choose 100%. So since I'd already enabled, that is why it's already here. Okay. The next thing is to get to the Visual Studio Code ID environment. So the way to do it, in case you didn't see the link, is go to CloudFormation. You should see a stack under stacks. You should be able to see a stack of the code editor. You'll see code editor here, and from there you should be able to see that the under outputs. If I come in here and I go to outputs, it will provide for me the code editor URL that is here. Yeah, so that is when I click on it, I'll show you the screen where that has the code editor already. Okay, I think with that, getting started is Strand Agents. So I told, for example, if I now share the other side, yeah, you should be able to see that I do now have, let me just take you back here. So I do have it here. So if I come in here, if I go to, I'd already done the first part. I thought of, let me just put some video recording onto this. So you can see the moment you try to run, you can see it will always have you'll have to choose select kernel. You'll see it down on this other side. Then you choose the one that has the .venv bin Python. That one is shown on this other side. So if I come into the other screen and show you, so you can see it requires you to just use the venv dot slash bin slash python that you're going to see. And you're going to run the commands just as was mentioned during the live session. Is that if I go back here, just share this. So you can see you are supposed to, you don't have to run this because you're not using your own account. If you're using a workshop, if you're using your own account, you have to set this up. If you're running in an environment with an IAM role. Yeah, then for this one, you don't need to install these packages for now. And as a test, you have to run these and it has to give you the model ID. If it doesn't, then there's a problem with your setup, which you need to check in terms of the setup. So then this just a recap. We run this command that will help us. It's going to just show us how a simple agent, the built-in calculator tool is done. And then it shows us also the tool that has been used and the area and the output. Then there's aspect around custom tools, around getting weather information. Yes, it shows like the temperature in Hong Kong is 95 degrees Fahrenheit. And then about the agent loop in terms of how Strands agents process requests using the agent loop so that you understand about the agent framework. So this command, when you run it, it gives you like the number of loops that have been done. For example, the user puts in a request, then the assistant does some thinking to understand, okay, what tool line will the assistant need? It needs the weather tool, and then gives an input to the weather tool as Hong Kong, and then the tool gives a result, and the assistant gives the temperature in Celsius, but it needs to convert it to Fahrenheit. Then it uses the calculator tool to do the conversion, and then gives the result. Then the assistant now gives back the temperature. So let's look at this just about the agent loop. This is how the diagram that shows, hey, it gives the input and the context, and then the AI agent will have some reasoning, do some tool selections, execute the tool, get the results back to the reasoning. If it needs another tool, it will do another tool selection, execute that tool, get it back to the LLM, then provide the final response. So this is just the whole 6-step process that is there. Then, as you can see here, Strands Agents conversation management. Just to note that it has a default sliding window conversation manager strategy. That means that it will handle context management, memory optimization, and conversation to maintain coherent long-term interactions while respecting the model context limits. This automatically maintains context conversation within sessions. So, for example, if you ask the agent, what did we talk about? As we discussed the weather in Hong Kong, you are asked the friend and provided it. They can see, let us help to understand the workings. So if you look at it, this just gives you an idea around the loop detail again, and then gives back. So if you look at it in a new session, for example, if you come up with a new session, and that's what did you recall, because the model will reply that they don't have the context around it, because you forget because built-in conversation management is short-term memory, and you're going to understand about long-term memory in lab 6. And that one is done, and that is what the lab 0 was. So now getting to lab 1, just to note is, again, we don't need to run the first one because it's already been commented, which is still fine. But something to note is that if you try to run these, the Notion tells us that if you get the error on no module named pip, you have to change the percentage to the exclamation, which I did, and it ran. And then I'm going to now run this one. Now these are together. So set up the model ID. I've gotten the model ID for Nova Pro, which is awesome. And then we're being asked, what is the AgentCore code interpreter? It's a powerful tool to allow agents to execute code dynamically in a secure sandbox environment. That's the beauty about the code interpreter. So let's test the Strands agent with the default code interpreter. I'll run this line of code. So you can see it's getting the tool, the code interpreter. It seems there's an error because the session math session doesn't exist. I need to initialize a new session before executing. Try initializing the area stop reason role. The area, as you can see, it now got it says the session. I think that I'd taken a bit of time, but you can see it has now gotten the tool, and then it has used the tool to calculate. So let's examine the rich detailed execution agent loop again. Let's do that. Let's see what is going on here. I think I will. Yeah, as you can see here. So what you again see the user, what is the area of the radius or area of the circle with a radius of 8.26 centimeters. So you can see it will think and it will realize that it needs a code interpreter tool, and it's going to provide the tool an input. The tool, first of all, for me, it got like session not found. And then it seems there's an error, the math session code, the math session name. And then for the user session, it goes like math session was now found and gives a session ID. And then it appears there's an issue with session. I'll try initializing session again to avoid. Yes, then you can see it now gives it the inputs, and then the code interpreter will now gives us the output, and then the assistant gives back the output to the response to the user. But it's in a sandbox with network isolation. This is an important security feature, and that prevents unauthorized access while ensuring code execution safety. Creating custom code interpreter with network access. So initializing the agent clients. Let's see. I don't think there's an issue with this in any other part. So I've seen the others. So I've run that. Create a custom code interpreter. So I'm going to just run that. So this one, if it's commented, as you can see, it's only required when it needs access. So you can see an interpreter, sample code interpreter, create a code interpreter session. That's created a session for us. Let's test the basic functionality to check what is the Amazon stock price today. Let's see, it's already given that, and you can see it is. I can see this talks as the value used this. So you can see it has given out the context. The text is 207 as it is. So it has given out the output in terms of the stock price. It's giving other details. Now we create a custom code with internet access into Strands Agents. You can see the reason why you're getting this as it has not gone to an assistant for it to format and get the data and just show us that. So let's see. Using custom code interpreter with Strands Agent. To obtain the software, I need to use the financial click install. The financial is need to install it before it installs. And then you can see get the current price. And you can see it say the current price, stock price of Amazon is 207.67. let's examine the detailed execution flow. Again, let's look at the flow. You can see it's showing how it started out, the user, asked the question, and then the assistant gave it a thought, realized that it needs a tool called Y Finance, and the user link package is not found. It was given back to the user. Then the assistant gave out that input back to us, and then it did an install of pip install Y Finance, and then it downloaded and installed it, and it so successfully installed, and then it executed the code using the tool on my finance. Then it gave out the value, which is 7.67, which it also gave out. It is now formatted. So this one is, we need this if we would need to clean up if we need to do it, but since I'm on a workshop, I don't need to do that. So we've been able to test the default code interpreter functionality. We've created a custom code interpreter with network access capabilities. We also integrated code interpreter with Strands Agents for dynamic code execution. They've executed same complex tasks, including data analysis, web requests, file operations. So these are the key benefits. So let's move to lab 2. Before I go on, so I'm just looking, first of all, I need to look at what is in terms of the Notion page that we are provided with in terms of any errors. So what I've seen is for lab 2, in the prompt, replace /content with this, with that, like I think it has the forward and a backslash. So I'll copy that. I'll just go back and see where the error I will find on that one. Let's go. Again, because it's a new notebook, I need to select the kernel. I need to use the one that we're having. So it's okay now. Strands Agent with AgentCore browser. So you don't need to run this, but even if you run it, since it's commented, it's not going to have any challenges. And then I'm going to confirm that the model is sorted. Yeah, so that one is sorted. Then what is the Bedrock AgentCore browser? So it's a powerful tool that enables AI agent to interact with web browsers in a secure environment. The browser tool enables to perform complex web-based tasks requiring visual understanding. Let's run this. So I'm seeing AgentCore browser session browser connected, navigating to AWS Builder Center. Also, so that Builder Center now has badges. That means I'll want to be going there more times. I can see it is navigated. Is a screenshot. Clicking the first article in the spotlight. AWS Community Game Day Europe on the, I think you know, AWS going to be happening on the 17th. So set testing Strands Agents with browser automation. And to confirm that if they have the content here. Yeah, so this is the one that have with /content if it runs in a loop. But I don't think I need to do it. Let's see. Let's see whether if it will ask me an issue. The link has been clicked successfully. The next step is to wait for the agent page to load. The HTML content of a new page has been retrieved. And you can see that. So the article, it's showing that the historic fairness Ghana. I think it was checking on, 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 agent core browser session. Yeah, so if you go to build a center and you see, we'll confirm that this one in /content, we'll see that is the article. If I let me see if I can do that. I know it starts with an article. I don't know why it's not builder.aws.com. It's still fine. So here it is. So if I go to /content, it should be people I think are sharing their AI ideas. It's still fine. I wanted to see just the space for it requires me to sign in. I don't have to sign in right now. Anyways, but you get the point. Anyways, let's see. The article is titled Agent what? Let's see. It was supposed, what did the browser need to do? The first link that goes to a path starting with /content. So let's see. And it's whether using trending or latest. But I can see the different aspects around this. Agent by Seth David. Okay, that's what it has found. But I think it should be there. Sure. So let's continue. So this just breaks down what it happened. It checked the session and then navigate the session to interact with the builder page. It found that, and then it went on to check, I think navigated to /learning or something. I can see it's happened to /learning. Let me see if it's the things learning here. Something like that. Learn topics or something. And then it shows a couple of different things that right there. But anyways, yeah, so it says it found agent restoring fairness to Ghana. And do this. Let me try to see. Let me try to see if I do something. Let's try to do what it was being asked. So let's see. Let's see if I run it again and if it will find something else. I'm very interested to see whether I can find this article. Just see. Yeah, I think it's here. Seth David came 4 hours ago. So it is there. Actually found it. Yeah, so it's an article that does actually exist here. So they actually did a browser. So yeah, let's examine the detailed execution flow. This just brings out the flow. We've already looked at that. And then we go this cleanup just in case you're using your own account. You don't want to do it right now. Common use cases for agent if you're doing web application testing to just check them, validate user interfaces, data collection and monitoring, business process automation, AI-powered web interaction. All those are very powerful through the AgentCore browser. I think we're done with that lab. Let's go to lab 3. Again, we start with selecting the kernel. We do that. I'll check what the nodes say, the notion. We'll do this, and I'll do that. So as you can see, where do I get the EXA API key? You need to create an account on the EXA homepage. I need to do this. I'll copy the link. I'll open it in a new tab here. And then I'll create an account with my email. So for purposes of safety, for security, I'll change my share. Just take it back to the code that I don't have to share my personal email. So just do this. Then I'll continue and create an account with my email. It says that I'm going to leave the default settings and then I'll get some $10 with free credits or something. So I'll just use the it's still loading. So give me a second as it loads. Let's see. So as it loads, you can be running a couple of things. I don't think there's an issue with that one. This one, as you'll notice, I also don't need to run it. It's commented for now for the workshop. So I'll check on my model ID. I've gotten it, still fine. Retrieve. In this lab, you're going to interact with the remote MEXA MCP to get the X5XR login and register with your email. And create an API key and then do that. So I'll show you what I'm doing on this other side. So here, as you can see, I'm being told I'm going to continue with Google, which I did. Then I'm going to choose a tool. Then I can just choose Python, as you can see here. Just choose web search tool. Then I can just say next, testing or something. Then you can see I'll just leave it the default. The default. Then I'm going to generate a code. I'm going to come up with an API key that I need to copy now. So you can see I have my API key. And I received $10 in free credits, which is still fine. Yeah, so I do have that. And then now I can share my screen on the other side. Okay, I'm going to, but you don't have to with your actual API key. So there's a part of the code that requires you to change your API key. So I'm going to come back here. And you can see the API key is supposed to be entered here. Just make sure you remove that and put quotes, single quotes, like that. Then you can paste your API key. So I will paste it. And then I will go on and look at this. What is Bedrock AgentCore identity? It's going to, okay, let me just run this first. So it's going to use a web search, and then you can see it's been able to answer the question. What is Bedrock AgentCore? AgentCore Identity provides credential management for AI agents to need to access external key benefits, include secure storage, API keys, runtime, because that way of hard coding the API keys is not a good thing, access control, audit, and rotation support. Let's create a secure credential. So create an API credential provider. Again, I think I need to just make sure that I put the double quotes. I'll put in the key. I'll definitely make sure that after this I deal with making that API key not working. So I revoke it, that is. So test secure credential retrieval. Now let's test our agent using secure credential retrieval. That requires API key decorator afterwards retrieves from the credential provider at runtime. If we go this. So to answer the question, you can see it was able to do that. And this time round, you can see secure credentials. So you can see it's going to just use this decorator to do that, and I don't have to hard code any API key here. So let's look at the loop of how it is doing it. First of all, it is what is Bedrock AgentCore. And then it just uses the tool web search EXA, and you can see like role preferred, and then it gets the user in terms of the aspect around what it's going to do, then it gets back to the assistant. So this one is just in case you need the cleanup. I'll not do it for now, but I'm saying being able to identify security risks of hard-coded API keys in agent application. We've created a secure API credential provider with Bedrock AgentCore identity. We implemented a secure credential retrieval for external service integration, and we've been able to test credential access with Exa API. So that's some of the key benefits right there. So we move on to lab 4. You can see lab 4 didn't have any challenges in the notes. So we go here, and you can see this one is MCP server deployment in Amazon Bedrock AgentCore runtime. We're going to create a custom MCP with web search functionality, set up authentication using Cognito, deploy the MCP to Bedrock AgentCore runtime, then test the deployed. So you need to have the AWS credentials. If you're not running, you have to run this, but you don't have to deal with it. You don't even need to do this as yet because we're using a workshop environment. Then you're going to just get a model ID. Oh yeah. The other thing you see, I might have forgotten. I'm trying to run, but I've not selected the kernel because I'm in a new notebook. I need to select the kernel. That is why all the code I was running was not running yet. So you can see that one. And then then you can see it was able to run now that one ran. So the Bedrock Agent Core runtime will allow us to deploy MCP servers as managed scalable services. And that is the beauty, the scalability that comes with it, the security, managed infra, as well as the integration. So MCP servers provide tools and resources that the agents need to do. They need to extend their capabilities, such as different like web search, database access, or even any custom business logic. So let's look at what is here. So let's look at what is here. So let's create a simple MCP to web search using DuckDuckGo. The server will be deployed to AgentCore for scalable use. So let's see it is here. So ideally, it's looking for the MCP server first MCP. I'm saying it's going to define the web search tool. These are decorator that reads what it's going to be happening. And I can see it's going to be having different arguments like the search query keywords, the region where it's going to be searched, and the maximum number of results it should return. And it return a dictionary, some of the search results, and a couple of things there. So it's is it fully run? I think it did. So it's writing the requirements.txt, which is done. And then local testing of the MCP is optional. Optional if skip if port 8000 is occupied in for deploying test the MCP server locally. So we're going to have to run these one by one. We just need to come in here to my terminal. I'm going to use UV. We can just do this CD. We just run the three of them the way they are. So you can see if I try to run this and open it in a browser. I'm not getting so let's see. I'm getting a 44 not found. UVCon. Test the MCP server locally. Let's see. It should happen like that. Let's see whether I can. Let me see if I do. I don't know that it's going to do a different thing. If not, because it's optional. Again, it's giving, okay, not yet. It's optional. You can still survive through without it. It's still fine. So let's go on. Let's close that. Since it's connecting, you can see to determine it's going to do a search and then it's going to stop the yeah, so it has actually worked actually. So if I go back and check the integration, for example, this way we got the MCP, we can see that it is local and it is data search and then it's finished everything. So it worked out. It is actually, I needed to just run this first, then step 2 to test that it is working. It is run locally. The terminal, you can see that. Deploy MCP server AgentCore runtime with authentication. So you're going to deploy it. This is how it would look like. Just explain to us so I don't have to go through that. So create a cognito user pool for secure access. Test the user on the authentication flow. So you're going to just do it from the CLI. So it's going to initialize the Cognito agent and the user pool and the agent ID and the pool ID. I go to here and I just choose, okay, I think I need to sign in again. Let me just, before I do that, let me just run this code. Did I was run it? So you can see we've already gotten the pool ID, the discovery URL, the client ID. So even if I come in here and I search Cognito, it's loading. I search Cognito and I look for these, just to confirm that we do have failed to failed to get the user pools. Let me see user pools. Oh, I can do it from here. Maybe we can only see it. I thought I could see them, but it doesn't allow me to do that. But it's still fine. If I go back to our workshop, you can see we found it, the pool ID, the discovery in the client ID. So we're going to configure Bedrock runtime, automatic resource creation. So it's going to, these steps will create essential deployment files. So here you'll notice that it will create here under lab 4. Let me just minimize the other labs. Yeah, like that. So you can see here we are only having the agent core and such. It's going to create for us the Docker file, Docker ignore, the Bedrock. These are hidden. And then we're going to see how it works out in terms of the deployment files. So let's run that. So you can see the Docker ignore, the Bedrock AgentCore. What else? The Docker file, and the Docker file is here. So these ones are the ones that have been created. Okay. So it has generated everything. The configuration is now completed. So let's now try to deploy our custom MCP server to Bedrock AgentCore runtime. So you can see the whole process it will start by building a containerized version of the MCP server, create the different AWS resources and ECR repo, the IAM roles, push that container image to ECR, deploy to AgentCore runtime as a managed autoscaling service. So let's see. You can see it has already done the ECR repo. You can see the execution role that is already available, meaning that it was already there in the workshop, as you can see. And then it has started doing a build. You can see the build, it was queuing has started, the queuing has completed the provisioning, the pre-build. And if you're curious, if you go to here and search code build, you should be able to see the code build running the project. And I think I can see it from the user interface. Doesn't allow me, still fine. Can still see whatever is going on here. Thought I could see it, but it's fine. So the agent has been created and updated. So you can see it is the MCP and such, the polling point to be ready. It is waiting for the endpoint to get it, and you can see now fully done. It's still continuing. Telling us about the logs here. So you can even verify the deployment status. Let's see whether it's been done. As you can see, it is ready. Final status is ready, and everything is ready. So let's test the deployed MCP server as a tool for Strands Agent. Remember, it's getting the token access from, then you set the access securely to connect to the MCP, hosting in AgentCore. So you first of all need to obtain the Cognito authentication username and password. There they are. And then set the access token as a header to securely connect. So let's do that. You can see it is already using that custom MCP server deployed on AgentCore runtime. So let's look at how it has done it. Let the loop say here, assistant web search, and you can see it has found it on the tool, and then it was able to work with the tool. So it's just the cleanup step. You don't have to do it for now, but we've been able to create a custom MCP. We've set up Amazon Cognito for secure authentication. You configured the Bedrock MCP server to Bedrock AgentCore runtime. And now integrated the deployed MCP server with AI agents for the AI-powered workflows. That one is done. Let's go to lab 5. Again, this time we don't forget to select the kernel. So this one is on Strands agent deployment in Bedrock AgentCore runtime with observability. Remember, we enabled transaction search on CloudWatch. So this one is going to be very interesting. We're going to deploy Strands agents with tools. We're going to use Boto3 for IAM permissions, and then going to understand the nature of Bedrock AgentCore runtime session. And then we definitely learn how do we do GenAI observability and traceability. So as usual, don't think this was have an effect because they're all commented, but we're going to check whether you're getting the ID. Yes, we did this on enabling. So in case if someone had not done it, they can do it again. So Strands agents with agent core runtime. So it provides us with a framework of building agents with built-in custom tool integrations. You get that. Let's see all the scalable skill authentication, usability, and tool integration. So you can see it's still working out the way it was here. Deploy Strands agents to AgentCore runtime. Remember, we did something like this in lab 4. And create the Python file with agent configuration. I can see what I was trying to see what is there in the notion. It says that error while attempting to bind address already in use. Ignore the error is because 888 is used in the workshop environment, so you can ignore that one. So that's done. So you can see a Python file has been created that has the Strands agent. When you use the when you use Bedrock AgentCore app, it will automatically create an HTTP that listens to it. It implements the required invocation endpoints and implements the ping endpoint for health checks and proper content types and response and manage error handling according to the standards for AWS. So being told that you can start a local server. We can cd. So if I want, I can cd. First of all to the previous, then I can cd to 05. That one. and then I can do a UV run, strands agent.py. So you can see address already new. So you may be able to skip this step because that is what you are being told, not for us not to worry about it. As you can see here. So you're being told you may skip the step because the error that is caused by port 8080 that is used in the work, it's already being used. Unless someone wanted to use, if you go, I'm just curious if I change, just thinking out, what if I change the port? Is there a place to change the port here? Not really, but it's fine. We can go on. You're just looking at the other side. I was just looking at this other side. So let's go back here. Just looking at whether uh, this Strands agent has specs around changing the port, but it doesn't have it. Still fine. So let's continue. Here we are. So let's create the requirements file. In the Python dependencies that are needed for Strands Agent is the AWS OpenTelemetry distro for AgentCore observability, Strands Agents, the Core Strands framework, and the Bedrock AgentCore for the runtime integration. So let's create a file for requirements.txt. And I'll now configure the AgentCore runtime. Remember, this was also the in lab 4, the Docker file, the Docker ignore, and the Bedrock AgentCore.yaml file. So you can see the files have been created. The AgentCore, the Docker ignore, and the Docker file. Then we're going to now do the same process. Remember, when we're deploying the AgentCore runtime, we first of all need to containerize the version of our Strands agent, create the different required resources, ECR repo and the IAM push the container image to ECR, and then deploy the AgentCore runtime as a deploy the Strands agent to AgentCore runtime. So let's do that. You can see it's starting out. And broad propagation. Once it's done, we can verify the deployment status. It's still working out. A very interesting workshop. Well, the fact that I don't have to edit a lot of things in the code, try to understand what is going on in each step, as you might have noticed. Very interesting. Since it must be done, it is done. So you can just verify the deployment status. Okay, so it is there, it is ready. Then now let's test the deployed agent. Mhm. It's already worked it out, which is still fine. And then we can test the conversation history. So it is able to see that it is able to find the conversation history in the context across multiple requests using the same session ID compared to the other one that the previous time when you entered to a new session, the Strands agent could not remember. Okay, this is just other things in terms of runtime. So then agent core observability on CloudWatch, this is why we need to want to do session tracking, distributed tracing, and look at some of the performance metrics, especially about, we already know that it's important to understand what are the model response times, then span analysis. Let's view the main, let's wait 2 to 3 minutes, then access the CloudWatch console to view the agent core observability work dashboard. So let's see whether CloudWatch has something there for us. So you're saying in lab 5, you've been told if you don't see the GenAI observability and application, you see is not updated. The current console, you may find it on the left menu under GenAI observability, then Bedrock AgentCore. So just to note, this is something to note in the Notion. It is already shared in the Notion that we have for the work for the BeSa workshop. That in case you're not able to see in the screenshot in the workshop is not yet updated, you have to go to GenAI observability, then you go to Bedrock Agent Core. That is where you're going to see that one. And then self-trace setup, you may need to run UV init before UV sync. That is if you get no current directory. That is when you're doing your self-paced. But we are under the workshop, so this one might not, it might only apply for those who are going to use their own workshop environment. I think that was the last error or something to note in the Notion, which is good. So let's share our screen, the other side. As you can see, I just need to go back here and go to GenAI observability, then Bedrock Agent Core. So I can see what we expect. I should be able to see 2 agents, 2 endpoints. There are 2 sessions that over like 738 traces, 17K tokens were used. The error rate was 0, the throttle rate, very important in terms of the observability things, as you can see here. So you can see, click the default in Strands getting started to view the session history. This shows the test version, test session with 2 traces. How is the weather? And what did I ask? I go to the session list. So you can see the 2 sessions that we had. This should be the one. There's a different trace ID in terms of that particular session, in terms of the trace in that, and you can see the input that was there. You're a helpful assistant to provide concise response. So that was the system. Then you can see what did I ask and how is the weather in Hong Kong HK. You can see that is what is there. Now, going back, I left the session to symmetric trace timeline and the performance data. You can see if I go to a trace analysis, I can go back deeper, drill down deeper. Now if I want to do this trace ID, can dig deeper, it span. The latency was that, the tokens that were used are all here. And I can see how it went out in terms of the different events that happened and the spans and everything that was there, even the trajectory it took. Okay. You can see the spans as well as the different span details that are here. If I do a tree or if I want to do it as a timeline, I can now see it the way it was being shown on the other screen. I can look at it in form of a tree or in terms of a timeline. Okay. So different details around observability. So you'll be able to deploy the Strands agent to Bedrock runtime. You'll be able to see how you can configure observability and monitoring within CloudWatch. We tested the end-to-end agent functionality by invoking the remote agent in AgentCore runtime, and we explored the session isolation and different automatic cleanup capabilities that are there here. Okay, now we go to lab 6. Again, I need to now select the kernel. So this lab is on Strands agent with Bedrock AgentCore memory. So we're going to see how you're going to use Bedrock AgentCore memory to create agents with persistent memory across different conversations. Of it like they usually use projects. So core architecture, short-term and long-term memory strategies to retrieve context across sessions. Extract user preferences and semantic facts automatically build memory-enabled agents and all these. So I don't think I need to run this much. Let's see that. So let's look at whether another Pro model ID will come up. Again, it is there. So demonstrating the agent memory limitations. Remember we had these earlier, but we're going to repeat that. You can see I need to check. Again, you can see, sorry to recall what we discussed. And it wasn't, I was thinking, do anything. There's no previous conversation. Provide context, you can see. So short-term memory is raw interaction events, contains immediate context and such. Then the long-term memory is the structure extracted through raw interaction, which is retained upon multiple sessions. This one is just in a single session and automatically expires within a specified period. This is just what was explained in terms of AgentCore memory and the memory extraction module and how it works for long-term memory. So we're going to create an AgentCore memory instance with both short-term and long-term memory capabilities. It takes 3 minutes to set up the vector database and processing pipeline. We'll configure the 3 memory strategy, summary strategy, user preference strategy. So the summary strategy, the session summaries for efficient context compression. User preference strategy captures and stores user behavior patterns. And then the semantic stores, access and stores factual knowledge from the different conversations. This is going to take a bit of time. As it does that, you can look at this. Now let's demonstrate how to store conversation events in AgentCore. Create several conversation exchanges to relate both the long-term and the short-term memory, different types of content. The sample conversation will be on a travel planning assistance. You're going to simulate a comprehensive travel planning conversation. And the user asks about Hong Kong activities. And then they show how AgentCore memory is capturing the session context, the user preferences, as well as the different semantic facts. Following conversation will populate both short-term and long-term memory with rich neighbors for testing the memory retrieval ID. So you can see here it is the different kind of things that are there in terms of the user ID and the session ID, another user ID. Then I think this session ID is still in the same. So it's going to create an ID for create memory or list memories. Is the actor, be an agent or an end user, and the unique ID that was there. So different conversations that are going to be created here, then you're going to now get to memory retrieval. And now we still have the memory instance being created. To see it will take like 3 minutes. So I'm going to still go on here so that by the time it is done, you're going to see what is there. So I'm going to do like a short-term memory retrieval, provide me immediate access to the recent conversations, is then maintaining context within a session. So within a session, you need short-term memory. For long term, it's going to store extract and store insights from different conversations. Takes around 20 to 30 seconds for short-term memory to be processed into long-term memory. It seems like the way we think about our brains, right? We do some space repetition, then something gets stored in from our short-term memory to long-term. There are different types of long-term memory by queries. So summary retrieve, the session summaries that compress conversation. You're going to see the session summaries, then the user preference strategy, the user behavior patterns based on the conversation history, as well as the factual knowledge, that is the semantic fact strategy. You're going to see that. So I can see I think the instance has been created. So what you can do is you can come back up here and create these conversations. This one is done. You can see we have our memory ID. You can just do that one. You can see it is still there, sorted out. That one is also added to our memory ID. Also added. Also added. Added. Let's do a short-term memory retrieval. You can see that absolutely Hong Kong is what you can see this. I want to try dim sum. Would you recommend famous dim sum restaurants in Hong Kong? You can see the assistant how they answered. I have kids. I think these are all the short term because the reason why it's short term because you can see the last conversation. The very first one was about that. Yeah. So within short-term memory events that are there, let's see it until the long-term memory to be ready. It's just seems like wait for 1 minute. A minute for it to do it. So it's just telling us you're going to wait for 60 seconds. It's still fine. So list the long-term memory records. You're going to wait after this is done, it's going to be run. And then you're going to see some of the things. And the long-term strategy is the summary that we see the long-term memory by queries. About to do that. So 60 seconds is almost done. That's all long-term memory record is 10. You can see it is doing using the session summarizer. It's showing us some of the content that is there for these sessions. The session summarizer for the other session that was there. You can see these are multiple sessions. I love hiking. You can see user preferences. I can see the summary strategy. I can see the user preferences and I can see the facts. You see that the user loves hiking, loves kids, the users, so those are the things. So let's look at these. So all these are the summary strategies that were done. And this is the user preferences. I mean, are these still also the session summary? Are these express interest, user preferences strategies here? Then the semantic facts that we saw. They are. So you can see as expected, the semantic fact results contain no memory about Bedrock AgentCore information, a semantic exercise information only from user messages. And again, the other thing is factual or rapidly evolving topics like these should not rely on long-term memory. Instead, use tool-based retrieval, such as web search, to get the latest information. So when you're building memory-enabled agents, can do these. Let's see whether we can create a memory-enabled agent. The whole story around that and the guidance around that. The workshop provides. You go to the workshop, it says, so you can see, let's see, what did you talk about Hong Kong? You can see it as an idea, what we said. You can see it says, I need to know the current weather conditions. Rainy, indoor activities, dim sum, and something of that sort. Can AgentCore memory handle long-term memory? This, I think, is just looking at the semantic facts in long-term memory. Just giving a result here, which is still fine. So how does Strands Agent integrate with AgentCore? Let's see. is a command. So it's going to give us the agent loop detail. Remember, we've been looking at this. What did you talk about? And see the assistant does this. And then the assistant is getting the, then the user is giving a prompt, anything suggested to do. We did that. Then you can see this, the weather tool that was checked, used. You can see that one, it is interacting with that. Yeah, so advanced customized Strands Agent integration with hook-based architecture. A memory uses hook-based architecture that seamlessly integrates preprocessing hook to retrieve the user context, a processing hook to save the conversation. Let's create the agent with memory hook to automatically use AgentCore memory. You can see it is also getting that script. This agent code provide personalized depending on, it's always personalizing the response based on the conversation history. That's so you can see, that's why you wonder how an LLM or an agent understands or continues to know you. That one is done. We're able to create and configure the agent core memory with vector storage. We stored some conversation events to build a comprehensive memory dataset. We implemented different memory retrieval strategies, that is the summary, preference, and semantic facts. We also integrated agent core memory with Strands agents for persistent conversation context. And we are finally able to test the agent, memory-enabled agent for cross-session conversation continuity. So let's look at this one. Now the final lab. So build MCP from OpenAPI specification with a Bedrock AgentCore gateway. We're going to see how you can automatically generate MCP servers from OpenAPI specifications, enabling seamless integration with external APIs and API agents. We're going to create a gateway, AgentCore gateway with authentication OpenAPI-based target setup, secure credentials management. So we first ensure you have that. I think these are some of the things that are there. Oh yeah, I forgot to do this. I need to select the kernel. Then just need to do that one and just check that they're getting the ID, model ID, which is still fine. So the Bedrock Agent Core Gateway is a managed service to automatically convert OpenAPI specifications into MCP servers. It helps with automatic tool generation, secure authentication, managed infra, scalability, and integration. If you want to MCPify your OpenAPI RESTful APIs, you can do that one. This is how it is done. So let's see, preparing the OpenAPI. So you should download the EXA API, OpenAPI to use to automatically generate MCP tools. To define the specs, the OpenAPI specs define all available endpoints, parameters, and response schemas. So let's see, downloading. And then it's going to check whether it is already exists. You can see for mine, it says the file already exists because I do have it on my pattern folder. You can see do have it here. It's already here. The YAML, the X open API spec.yaml. Loading the spec to S3 is uploaded, and then creating the agent core gateway with inbound specification authentication. So going to use the Cognito user pool to secure access, then do all these other different things that are here. That is the user pool. The app client is going to create an Cognito hosted domain. So let's do that. So whatever the code, it's actually started by creating, the user pool has been created, the domain, domain is active, created the client, the resource server, the client. Is waiting for a bit of the DNS propagation. Then we can see what comes out of this. So as we're waiting for the DNS propagation, we'll be checking the next step. Create a gateway target that uses OpenAPI to automatically generate MCP tools where the API is stored securely in Bedrock AgentCore identity. API credential for outbound authentication stored securely. The target configuration concludes the, so you can see it's already done here. We have the token endpoint and a couple of other things at the gateway URL. To get the XI API, go to the login, go to the API dashboard, create API, and important, replace the placeholder with the actual API key. So remember we did this earlier. I just put the quotes there. I'm going to get my API key. I think I should be having it somewhere in my clipboard. I think it should be that one. You can see it's already done. Then test the deployed AgentCore gateway as MCP server. Strands Agents. Now let's test. Let's obtain the access token. We've gotten the access token. Now test the gateway. So here what happens is going to connect the gateway using the token that we've just generated. Is the different availability tools, create an agent with access to these tools, then test the agent's ability to use the external API through the gateway. You can see the search is here. This research and a couple of others, the answer. So let's look at the execution flow. Love it. It is Amazon Bedrock AgentCore. So it's going to see test the gateway. It's using the tool. Then the tool input is given that, then it gives out the response. Then the response goes back to the assistant that provides us with that. It's just a cleanup. So we've been able to create a Bedrock AgentCore gateway with JWT authentication, configured secure credential management for external APIs. We've also been able to automatically generate the MCP tools from the OpenAPI specifications that we had from the YAML, and then integrated the API, the gateway with Strands Agent for AI-powered API interactions. So the beauty is you generate an MCP without even doing any coding. You have secure credential management using the different tools like they use. I think what I'll do, I'll also go to BeSa and make sure that I revoke that key that I've used. So I'll just delete it. Yes, I've deleted it, so I don't have it for security purposes. And then standards. So you can see how I've been able to delete the API key that I had from extra from my account. I went in here to API keys, just went to API keys here. And it was here, then I just deleted it. But for example, if I create a key and I just give it a name, then I create it, then I can delete it. So it's very important to have that. Yep. I think we're done. We're done with all the 7 labs. So here we are. In summary, we've been able to learn how to use AgentCore, Bedrock AgentCore to deploy and operate agents secure at scale. There are different documentations that are here. It was a very interesting workshop. Many thanks to the BeSa, Become a Solutions Architect, for helping us work through these, as well as also providing these aspects around the errors that you might be able to get. This was a very interesting workshop, so to speak. Yeah, but if you're running it in your own account, make sure you run the cleanup steps that are there in the notebooks. Hey, that is it, and thank you.